there comes a moment in life when you realize that the strongest thing you can do is not fight. It is not to argue. It is not to prove your worth. It is not to send another message explaining yourself to someone who has already decided not to understand you. Sometimes, the strongest response is silence. Sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make is simply, "I am walking away." Because some people become comfortable with your attention. They become comfortable knowing that no matter how badly they treat you, you will return. They expect you to explain yourself, apologize, call, text, forgive, and try again. And eventually, they mistake your patience for weakness. But walking away changes everything. Not because you are trying to manipulate them. Not because you want revenge. You walk away because you finally understand something. Your peace is more valuable than your need to be understood. And when you understand that, you stop chasing people who are perfectly comfortable watching you chase them. Aristotle believed that a good life requires balance, reason, and virtue. And one lesson we can take from that is simple. You cannot build a peaceful life while constantly surrendering your dignity to people who disturb it. There is a difference between love and attachment. There is a difference between patience and tolerating disrespect. And there is a difference between fighting for someone and fighting against yourself. Sometimes you have been fighting for a relationship for so long that you forget you are the only one fighting. You keep thinking, maybe tomorrow they will change. Maybe if I explain it differently, they will understand. Maybe if I love them harder, they will appreciate me. But eventually, reality becomes impossible to ignore. People who truly value you do not require you to destroy yourself just to prove your love. And when you finally stop trying to convince someone of your value, something changes. You become quieter. You become calmer. And suddenly, the person who was used to having your attention begins to notice your absence. When you stop chasing someone, you may still care about them. That is what makes walking away so difficult. You can love someone and still recognize that being around them is destroying your peace. You can forgive someone without allowing them to hurt you again. And you can miss someone without needing them back. That is maturity. Walking away does not always mean you stopped loving them. Sometimes it means you finally started loving yourself enough to stop accepting what was destroying you. And this is where ego becomes involved. The ego wants control. It wants reassurance. It wants to know that it can still affect you. So, when someone realizes they can no longer control your emotions, they may begin asking, why isn't this person reacting anymore? Why aren't they calling? Why aren't they begging? But the answer is simple. You still care. You simply learned that caring about someone does not require abandoning yourself. That is when your silence becomes powerful. Not because you are trying to hurt them, but because you are finally protecting yourself. Think about how much energy people waste trying to prove themselves. They prove that they are loyal. They prove that they are attractive. They prove that they are successful. They prove that they are worthy of love. But why? Why should your dignity depend on someone else's approval? Your worth existed before they noticed you. Your worth remains even when they misunderstand you. And your worth does not disappear because someone decided to walk away. Sometimes the person you are desperately trying to keep is the very person preventing you from becoming who you are meant to become. That is why walking away can be painful, because you are not only leaving a person, you may be leaving a dream, a future you imagined, a version of the relationship you hoped would eventually exist. But you must learn to distinguish between what someone actually gives you and what you keep hoping they will give you. Hope is beautiful, but hope without reality can become a prison. You can spend years waiting for someone to become the person you imagined. Meanwhile, the person they actually are continues to hurt you. Achisomi, point wisdom, requires you stop negotiating with reality. Accept what you see. Accept what they show you. Accept what their actions repeatedly tell you. Words matter, but patterns matter more. Someone can say, "I love you," while consistently treating you like you are disposable. Someone can promise change while repeating the same behavior. Someone can apologize every week and still refuse to become different. Eventually, you must stop listening only to words. Watch the pattern, because actions reveal priorities. And when you finally recognize the pattern, walking away becomes less about anger and more about clarity. You stop asking, "How can I make them change?" And you begin asking, "What kind of life am I creating by staying here?" That question can change everything. Do not walk away simply to make someone miss you. Do not disappear just to make them jealous. Do not become silent because you want them to suffer. That is still allowing them to control you. True strength is different. True strength says, "I am not leaving because I want you to hurt. I am leaving because I refuse to hurt myself anymore." That is a completely different mindset. You are not walking away to win. You are walking away because you have nothing left to prove. The world often teaches us that winning means getting the last word. But sometimes winning means refusing to participate in the argument. Winning means sleeping peacefully at night. Winning means waking up without anxiety. Winning means no longer checking whether someone has finally realized what they lost. And perhaps the greatest victory is this: you no longer need them to realize anything, because you realized it yourself. You realized that your peace matters, your dignity matters, and your future matters. When you walk away, the hardest part is often not leaving them. It is resisting the temptation to go back when you feel lonely, because loneliness has a strange way of making familiar pain look like comfort. You remember the good moments. You remember the laughter. You remember the memories. And your mind begins whispering, "Maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I should call. Maybe I overreacted." But remember why you left. Do not let temporary loneliness make permanent decisions for you. Missing someone does not automatically mean you made the wrong decision. Sometimes you can miss someone and still know they are not good for your peace. Sometimes your heart needs more time to accept what your mind already understands. Give it that time. Healing is not instant. There will be difficult nights. There will be moments when you want to reach out. But eventually, something beautiful happens. You stop needing answers. You stop needing closure from the person who created the confusion. You create your own closure. One day, you may finally say, "I have seen enough. I have learned enough. I have suffered enough. And now I choose myself." That is when walking away becomes freedom. Not revenge. Not punishment. Freedom. And perhaps the greatest revenge against someone who underestimated you is not becoming cruel. It is becoming peaceful. It is building a life they no longer have access to. It is becoming healthier, wiser, stronger, and happier without needing them to witness it. Do not make your healing another performance for the person who hurt you. Heal for yourself. Grow for yourself. Rise for yourself. You do not need to become successful so they regret losing you. Become successful because you deserve to become everything you are capable of becoming. You do not need to become beautiful so they wish they had stayed. Take care of yourself because your body carries you through this life. Build your future because your future belongs to you. Your life should never become a performance designed to make someone from your past regret their decision. Let them think what they want. Let them misunderstand you. Let them tell their version of the story. You do not have to defend yourself to everyone. Time has a way of revealing character, and your life will eventually speak louder than your explanations ever could. Your absence is not revenge. Sometimes your absence is simply the consequence of someone failing to appreciate your presence. And when you walk away, do not walk away hoping they will chase you. Walk away knowing that you are capable of standing alone. That is where your power begins. Because once you realize you can survive without someone's attention, their approval loses its grip on you. And once their approval loses its grip, you become free. Free to love without desperation. Free to leave without hatred. Free to forgive without returning. Free to grow without permission. Free to become the person you were always capable of becoming. That is real strength. Sometimes they will come back. They may call. They may apologize. They may suddenly tell you how much they miss you. Bowsy. Do not confuse pursuit with transformation. Someone missing you is not the same as someone changing for you. Someone regretting losing you is not the same as someone learning how to value you. Someone saying, "I need you," is not the same as someone saying, "I will treat you better." Look for actions. Look for consistency. Look for accountability. Look for growth. Because love is not simply what someone says when they are afraid of losing you. Love is what they consistently do when they believe you are staying. Never allow temporary regret to convince you that permanent change has happened. Words can be emotional. Promises can be powerful. But patterns reveal the truth. If the same behavior keeps returning, then the apology has become part of the pattern. And you deserve more than apologies. You deserve changed behavior. There is a powerful moment in life when you realize, I used to be afraid of losing them. Now I am afraid of losing myself. That is the moment your priorities change. You begin protecting your peace. You begin protecting your time. You begin protecting your energy. You stop giving everyone unlimited access to you. And suddenly, you become difficult to manipulate. Not because you became cold, but because you became clear. You can still be kind without being available to everyone. You can forgive without reconnecting. You can love someone and still choose distance. You can wish someone well without allowing them back into your life. And you can walk away without hatred. That is emotional maturity. You don't need to become heartless to protect your heart. You simply need boundaries. Because the strongest people are not those who never feel pain. They are the people who feel the pain and still refuse to betray themselves just to keep someone else comfortable. Maybe this chapter was never about losing someone. Maybe it was about finding yourself again. Maybe the relationship that broke your heart was also the experience that taught you boundaries. Maybe the rejection that embarrassed you was the rejection that redirected you. Maybe the person who underestimated you unknowingly introduced you to the strongest version of yourself. And maybe one day you will look back and realize walking away was not the moment you lost them. It was the moment you stopped losing yourself. So do not be afraid of silence. Do not be afraid of distance. Do not be afraid of starting again. Do not be afraid of being alone for a season. Sometimes solitude is where you rebuild the parts of yourself that constant. Emotional chaos destroyed. Sit with yourself. Learn yourself. Respect yourself. Build yourself. And eventually, you will understand something profound. You were never supposed to beg someone to see your value. The right people will not require endless proof. The right people will not make you compete for basic respect. The right people will not make you feel like your presence is a burden. So walk away when staying costs you your peace. Walk away when respect disappears. Walk away when you have explained yourself 100 times and nothing changes. Walk away when your heart is constantly at war with your mind. Walk away when you realize you are begging for what should have been freely given. And when you do not look back with hatred. Look back with gratitude for the lesson. Because some people enter your life to stay. Others enter your life to teach. And sometimes the deepest lesson is this: you cannot force someone to value you, but you can decide that you will never again undervalue yourself. That is your power. That is your freedom. And that is the moment walking away stops being about breaking their ego and becomes about rebuilding your own life. Choose peace. Choose dignity. Choose wisdom. Choose yourself and keep walking, because sometimes the person you were so afraid to lose was never the destination. They were only a chapter. You are the story, and your story continues.